Hello, I am Amanda Griffin, and I am the Director of Recruitment, Communications, and Data at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. I have been with the institution a little over 2 years. I stepped into this role actually September 1, and prior to that, I was a recruiter for Gulf Coast. So excited to share information about the process and how we can help your students complete and get that degree with Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that, Amanda, and we'll jump right into it. So the first question I have for you today is, so when do admissions applications typically open, and how would a student go about applying?
Yeah, so the admissions application opens every year on September 1st, and students are able to apply online at our website. Of course, that website is mgccc.edu. And to go straight to that application, it's just mgccc.edu/apply.
Great. So that's wonderful. Students can apply online from the comfort of their own home. That's wonderful. They don't have to physically go there. That's awesome. Also, so when they're completing the application, what items are they going to need to complete the application?
Yeah, so the great thing about our application is there is no fee, so it is absolutely free for students to apply. We do ask that they submit their ACT test scores. If they haven't taken the ACT, then we have another placement test called the AccuPlacer they can take in lieu of it, but the ACT is also needed. And then we also need their final official high school transcripts upon graduation, and that'll complete that admissions process.
Great. So along those lines, you mentioned it, the ACT. So is there a certain ACT or GPA that ensures an academic scholarship for your applicants?
Yeah, so in order to be admitted, they don't need a certain GPA or ACT score, but for scholarship purposes, we start awarding our academic excellence or ACT scholarships, if you will, at a 20 and higher on that ACT. So a 20 and higher starts getting them those scholarships. And of course, as they take that ACT, if they make higher, we're going to take that highest score.
Great. Thank you for that. Also, you spoke about ACTs a moment ago. Is the ACT Superscore or the highest composite used for admission and/or scholarship purposes?
That's a great question. So for scholarship purposes, we're going to look at that composite score. Again, so students, if they take that ACT and they score higher, we will continue to accept that higher score even over the summer. The super scores are looked at for course placement purposes. So say they've taken the ACT multiple times, but they make a 20 in the English section where they're going to automatically go into English Comp 1 versus maybe needing, the 4-hour English Comp course where they get a little bit of that beginning English in there. So we do look at the super score for course placement purposes.
Great. That's wonderful news to hear about and know about. So in regards to the ACT again, what is the last ACT date that's accepted for scholarship consideration?
Yeah, so I mentioned this a little bit before, but we will actually accept that ACT all through the summer. So really up until the day classes begin, if the student continues to take that ACT and makes a higher score, we will offer them the highest award amount that they are eligible for based on that ACT. So if they fall into a higher tier, we're going to give them the money that they've earned. So literally up until the day classes begin. So there's not a cutoff day in the spring or anything that we look at.
So that helps out procrastinators like myself. Awesome.
That's right. Yeah.
So
procrastinators.
Right. So along those lines, we've been talking about admission applications, but I want to shift gears and I wanted to know, is there a separate scholarship application that's required for students?
So for the academic excellence, we do not have a separate scholarship. So literally, as long as the student applies and they send us their ACT scores, if we have those on file, we can award those academic excellence scholarships. So yeah, there's no minimum I'm sorry. There's no application for the academic excellence. We do, however, offer a New Century Skills Scholarship.
Okay.
That is for students who have completed a 2-year career and technical program in high school. The great thing about this scholarship is it's not based on the ACT. So if the student is not that great of a test taker, but they have a really awesome GPA, we're looking at a 3.0 or higher GPA for the New Century Skills Scholarship application. Now that is an application. It takes about 2 minutes to complete. And once we receive that application from the student, we give the counselor a call, verify that GPA, and that's all, we'll need that final official transcript, and that's all that is needed for us to award that scholarship. So it's almost like 2 separate baseline scholarships. So academic excellence is the ACT, no application. New Century Skills is that career and technical. It does have an application. Unfortunately, these two are not stackable, but students are able to choose the best deal for them. I did forget to mention too that New Century Skills, students are able to choose either an academic or a career and technical pathway. So they're not held to stay strictly with that career and tech pathway.
Right. Well, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Also, you touched on a little bit of this, but for clarity, is there a scholarship application deadline with the ones that you mentioned just a moment ago?
There is not. So as long as funds are still available, we will continue, to accept those scholarship applications.
Great. Thanks for clarifying that for me. So are there any unique scholarship opportunities available for students at home in Mississippi Gulf Coast?
Yeah. So we have over 160 different foundation scholarships, which is money that is given to the institution from alumni or partnerships that we have within the community. So these can be very specific to students' majors or maybe the area or location that they live in. But it's a very simple application. So one application will allow students to apply for all of these opportunities, and they can go in and select the ones that they're interested in or just click them all, which we encourage them to do because all of these are stackable on top of those others that I have already mentioned. We do offer some specifically for STEM students. I know those are the higher ticket scholarships. So if we have any students who are interested in any of the STEM majors, definitely look into those within our foundation or alumni named scholarships.
Great. Thank you for that. So at Mississippi Gulf Coast, are there any requirements in terms of the FAFSA? Is the FAFSA required for all of your admitted students?
The FAFSA is not required. However, it is highly encouraged just to see that students are eligible for financial aid. We always like to assist students with filling those out. And we, as you know, partner with Get to College a lot in order to get those FAFSA completions, because that is, as you already know, free money that is sitting on the table for students. So definitely highly encouraged.
Right. And as you mentioned, they Get to College, we definitely encourage that students complete the FAFSA and their state aid as well if they plan on going to school in the state of Mississippi. So yes, we're both doing it on both fronts. Also, you mentioned that it's not necessarily required for the admitted students, but what about for the awarding of scholarships? Is the FAFSA required for scholarship purposes?
So some scholarships that we award do take financial aid into consideration, or financial need rather into consideration, specifically on the foundation side of things, or if they identify extra funds through the institution, they're able to disperse those, if we do have that FAFSA on file. So again, it is encouraged for students to fill it out just because we're able to help identify those who have that need and put the money where it's going to benefit the most students. So.
Right, thank you for that. And I know you've highlighted that priority dates. You guys don't stress a lot of those, but in relation to the FAFSA though, is there a priority date associated with the FAFSA being completed?
Yeah, we would typically say April 1st, and that's just a general priority deadline because that's when we start packaging those awards and giving students their eligibility amounts. So of course, we will continue to accept that FAFSA throughout the year. So it's not like that's the cutoff where we're going to stop, accepting that. That's just a general guideline in order to apply by so that they can know where they stand financially.
Right, and that's good to know for potential students as well, because as I mentioned, some of us, namely me, like to procrastinate sometimes. So if that gives them an opportunity to file all the way up until April, that definitely is a huge help for them. So now that we've talked about a lot of the application and scholarship processes, now I want to kind of shift gears and go to housing.
Mhm.
So when does the housing application typically open? And is there an application deadline for housing?
So the application opens February 15th. There's not necessarily a deadline, but I will say that we are very popular with housing. So at 8 a.m. on the 15th, or if that day happens to fall, on a different day, typically it's around that time frame. We always encourage students to log on as soon as possible, because if there were a wait list situation, they're going to go by who has applied when. So February 15th, typically 8 a.m. It is always communicated with students ahead of time. So those that have applied to the institution are going to get constant communications and reminders that this is when the application is opening, apply at this time, so that they are aware. I will go ahead and say those students, they apply, and then there's a second part to that process where they are able to go in and pick their room. They don't actually go in and secure their room until May. So the housing app opens in February, and that's when they're able to apply to get on the list. And then they go in and secure their room in May.
Great, thank you for that. Also, in regards to what we're looking at next is going to be shifting gears to the academic pathways. So what are some of the various academic paths that a student could take if they attend your school?
Yeah, so we actually have reorganized and kind of restructured into schools, and that's just in order to make a student's path to successful degree completion easier. And so basically we paired similar programs and kind of tracks together. So students are able to complete their first 2 years with us. If they are looking to transfer to a 4-year institution, we offer basically any major under the sun. They're able to get those first 2 years knocked out and transfer. We also, of course, offer stackable credentials if students wanted to go the 2-year route, where they're able to do certificate, diploma, and then associate's degree if they so choose. So kind of a few different things happening. And then, of course, the associate degree as well. So depending on what their path is, they can start with us and transfer. They can start and end with us with a 2-year or less program, or they can come and get their associate's degree. So
Great, and that's wonderful to hear. I know that when we're speaking with students and families that get to college, we always stress that everybody's journey looks differently. Some students may want to start out and go to the military first. Some students obviously would like to go the community college route first for a number of reasons, to save costs or just to get those basic classes out of the way before they transfer. So I think it's very important that students have options. And that's great to hear that you would offer so many different degree options so that they can pursue that 2-year degree first. And then, like you said, in with you guys or transfer to another university. So that's great.
yeah, absolutely.
And also, we've touched on some of the pathways, but I did have a question about, are there any new or unique programs at your school that we should be telling students about?
Absolutely. So as you know, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, so Mississippi Gulf Coast offers 3 main campuses. That's the Perkinston, Harrison County, and Jackson County campuses. So I'm just going to touch on a few at each of the campuses, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because, as you know, you're able to contact us for more information, but we do have 2 new programs at the Perkinston campus that are physical therapy assistant and occupational therapy assistant. So if you have any students who are interested in physical therapy or occupational therapy, those are brand new, just started, I think, actually in the spring. So we're really excited to have those at the Perkinston campus. We have 2 new programs as well at the Harrison County campus. We have simulation and game design, and we also have live media entertainment technology. So Both of those are also exciting, and they kind of go hand in hand with our brand new facility, the Impact. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that hopefully later. And then the Jackson County campus offers process operations, instrumentation, and controls. And really, when you're thinking about what programs are located at which campus, it's almost very similar to the industries that surround those areas. So, of course, Jackson County is going to be more the industrial, Ingalls, Chevron, those types of businesses, whereas Harrison County is going to be more of the gaming concentration business. We have automotive, things like that. And then, of course, Perkinston campus has construction, business, and a few others mixed in there as well. And then last but certainly not least, we have the George County Center. They offer healthcare assistant, cosmetology, and then our very popular lineman program.
Awesome. So along those lines, I know you mentioned the different campuses that you guys have, which obviously helps out a bunch in terms of getting students where they need to be. So if I'm a student and I choose a particular campus, I do want to touch base on what that would look like for me. So what type of campus life activities or organizations are available for students at your campus?
That's great. So students, we always say you're able to choose the college experience that's going to work best for you. So some, like you said, want to come to school and they want to go home. They may want to work. Some others also want to get involved and kind of build that resume up. So all of our campuses and the George County Center offer student activities in the form of clubs and organizations. So they are able to participate if they wanted to be on the reflections team or student government association. And then there's also some specific targeted clubs and organizations depending on the campus. For example, the Harrison County campus has like an e-gaming, like a sports, gaming is now a sport. They have a club that centers around gaming as a sport. So that's just one kind of off the wall example of, a club that you can find at the Harrison County campus. But there are so many different ways to get students involved. Another example is events that they hold throughout the semester. So they do like little survival packs for finals week, or they will do socials for students, Mardi Gras balls, things like that. So lots of different fun things that they are able to participate in if they just want to come and go, or they can be involved in if they're looking to plug in elsewhere on campus.
Great. So along those lines, I know you mentioned this earlier, so maybe this would be an opportunity for you to address that, but I wanted to just highlight any other new or exciting things about the campus that you would want us to share with some students.
Yeah, I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but new facilities. We have had some really amazing facilities come online within the last, say, year, 2 years. One of those being at the Perkinston campus, we have a beautiful new student union that actually houses a brand new cafeteria. In conjunction with that, and when I say, let me pause and say this cafeteria is so nice. It's like buffet style, and there's all these different stations for like sandwiches, salads, and then they have the specials and pizza and fries and hamburgers. So anyway, it's anything a student could ever need all in one cafeteria as far as food is concerned. And then right across from that, they opened a new housing facility. So PERC has some really great things happening, not to mention the Harrison County has the Immersive Media and Performing Arts Center, that's nice. Impact for short. So this is a huge new facility. It's over 50,000 square foot on the Harrison County campus. It seats 1,200. And so this is really used for performances and thinking of like the arts and things like that. So the Gulf Coast Symphony often performs here, just to kind of give you an idea. So that we're really proud of that facility as well. And then the Jackson County campus just recently opened the new STEM building. So it is huge, and it opened up, I think, just about a year ago, a little over a year ago. So state of the art, high tech, beautiful facilities that we have going on here at Gulf Coast. So very
wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I appreciate you expounding on that for us, Amanda, and that sounds very exciting. I know that if I were a student there or potentially going there, that would definitely excite me to hear about that. Also, I wanted to give you an opportunity to just think about if there's anything else that you would think would be beneficial for high school counselors to know about your university as they meet with students.
Really, the biggest thing is that we, myself and the recruiters, John, Anna, are here to help. So if they ever have any students that even need help kind of directing to their path, we have resources that we can facilitate to help those students kind of get on a track, but we're here to help throughout the entire process. So from start to actually getting into courses, that's what we're here to do. And we just want to encourage them to reach out to us if they ever need anything.
Right. So I'm sure they would be appreciative of that. Also, I do want to just spend some time, and once students are there, just highlight some of the resources that are available for students to succeed. I know a lot of conversation has been highlighted about mental health and different services surrounding that, or any tutoring services that you guys may offer.
So yes, we actually have most anything that a student can need covered. So I'll start with our enrollment services center. So those are really acting as like our one-stop shop for students, where they're able to visit these centers and get assistance with all of their questions. So almost like a recruiter, but in an office. So from start to finish. So it could be anything from I need help with admissions, financial aid, or I have issues going on maybe at home that I would like to speak to someone with. We have licensed professional counselors that sit within these offices that can also do counseling sessions with students. So that's our enrollment services centers. They also are able to assist students with any disability accommodations that they may need. They can work with the student and get the paperwork that they need in order to kind of facilitate those needs. So definitely wanted to note that. We also offer health clinics at each of our campuses and the George County Center. So students are able, if they have a cold, if they're not feeling so well, we have health clinics on site where they're able to walk in and get assessed. We offer the Learning Resource Center, which basically allows, we have faculty on staff that are there to help tutor students. So we always say from the beginning, if you start a class, like for me, college algebra was not necessarily I don't want to pick on college algebra, but that was not my cup of tea. And from day one, you are able to go in there and seek out assistance or, tutoring if you need that with whatever that class may be. So definitely encourage you to, to take advantage of the LRC because it's free to you and they are there to help. So not to mention, we offer a program called Degree Works, where students on the front end are able to come in, and it also helps like map out their coursework. So our enrollment service centers, the advisors will work in Degree Works a lot of times. And I only mention this because we all know students change their minds very often.
No, not students. They never do that.
They don't ever change their minds. I know. So if they do change their mind and pick another major, the great thing about Degree Works is it kind of maps out their plan for them, and it will tell them the if then scenario. So like if I change to this major, then what happens and what classes will I need to take instead of these? It also has a GPA calculator built in and tells them exactly how many classes they are away from finishing their degree. So it helps keep them accountable and also helps make it, a smoother transition and easier decision-making process for the student while they're kind of in that unknown, area where they are like, I don't know what to do. I want to do this. No, I want to do that. So it does kind of smooth over things. Like I mentioned earlier as well, we have something called Career Coach. It allows students to take assessments to see kind of where their interests lie. So there's a 6-question assessment and there's a 60-question assessment. So I took the 6-question because I didn't have time for the 60 for myself. And I will tell you, it hit the nail right on the head for me. It said education, counseling, and sales and marketing. So if that it doesn't wrap up my job all in one, I don't know what does. So anyway, I wanted to mention that, and that is absolutely free for students, but they're able to log in or visit the Career Coach on the website, and I'm happy to help walk them through that, or walk the counselors through that if they would like to see where that is. And they can create a profile, and they're able to do like resume building and all this neat stuff that comes along with using that that option. So Career Coach is amazing. So lots of different resources. And then I did want to mention, last but not least, we also have fitness centers on each of our campuses and the Georgia County Center. So if they wanted to get a workout on between classes, they have that option as well.
Right. Well, Amanda, I really appreciate that. Sounds like a lot of great things are happening at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College.
We're just here. If you ever need anything, please feel free to lean on us. And again, thank you, Malcolm.